Well, hello. Hi, everyone.
We're doing it again.
We're back again for game 2 of the grand debut of the Fragments of Nersetti, the Fragments of Nersetti expansion of the Imposter Kings. What better way to get familiarized with this incredible expansion on this incredible game than with two extremely high-level games played by four of the very best.
That's
of
right.
the Imposter Kings.
Yep, and today we've got the familial feud, the boisterous brotherly.
That's right. We're having a bonus boisterous brotherly bash today.
There we
go. Between, again, two true kings who have won tournaments at the Imposter Kings. Goose and Yedi. Should be a fantastic match today.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just mentioned, they've been from the community from the start. Both have won their share of tournaments or have gotten close to winning their share of tournaments. Both of them have won their share of tournaments. They got these special play mats for winning. Whee! That's the, runner-up. Goose got that last time. But Yeti, I believe, last time got this one, which is the limited edition True King version of this playmat. You can see the crown is intact on the top left, top right. I guess it's top left for you. Who knows? But this is some pretty cool stuff that they were able to earn through playing the game. And we have a treat today by being able to watch them both play.
Now, Simbu, I've got to ask, can you buy one of those playmats at store.theimposterkings.com?
Yes. Apparently, I'm really bad at this merchandising. No, you can't actually.
You can't, so don't even try it. If you go to store.theimposterkings.com right now, you won't see one of these. You might see some incredible other merch that you may want to buy, but you're not going to see one of these. Don't even think about it, Buster.
Those are, however, some of the things that you can get from the Kickstarter. And after the Kickstarter has been fulfilled, you can look for those playmats as well. But my point is that both of these competitors are really, really strong. So we're just going to get right into it. Let's go ahead and go straight into the rules of engagement. So just like last time, we're going to do a quick primer on what the expansion has to offer. Last time we also mentioned that there is a cheat sheet here that you can scan here with your phones. I hope all of you are taking your phones out right now with your cameras. We'll also paste into the chat a link that you can look at the basic cheat sheet. But if you don't know the basics of the game, you want to play a card that's higher than the other, so equal value or higher than your opponent. If you cannot play a card, you can flip your king to reset the pile one time, and each of the cards have an ability that you can play.
That's exactly right. And so a couple things to note about the new mechanics involved in this game. So just to tee things up, one important thing is the concept of the mulligan has gone away. And the reason why is because now each side is equipped with an army. An army are a set of cards that you can pull into your hand before the hand begins to augment or replace the cards that you got from the deal. And so your army is composed of two kinds of cards. The first kind you're looking at right now. Both armies are composed of these 5 base cards that you get an extra copy of that you can draft or muster into your hand.
That's right.
At the start of the hand.
So at the start of the hand, you have the ability to grab one of these cards. If you really need a 6, for example, to combo with your Fool, you're able to do so. But once you use these cards, they are out for the rest of the game. They're exhausted. So there are certain cards that let you unexhaust, but the point is that once you use these bad boys, that's basically your mulligans. So.
Yeah, they're done. So you've got to manage your resources over the course of the match because you only get so many times to go to your army. Each card can only be used once, and if you go to your army, you have to exhaust an additional card on top of the ones that you draw. Also, in the base set, there are now 2 cards that are in the deal for each hand, one of which is a familiar face, and one of which is not a familiar face. The familiar face is the Warden. So the Warden is in the core game for the 3 and 4 player match, but it is now part of the 2-player match as well. And the Warden, it's a 7, and if you get 4 cards face up in the court, you can use the Warden to trade a card in your hand for the face-up burn card for that hand. So if you see something juicy there that you like to swap in your hand, there's 4 face-up cards in the court, you can use the Warden to make that swap. There's also a new card emerging.
Yes. So the Immortal is a card we got to see a lot last night in our other showcase match, which is a really interesting card. It changes the battle state. Essentially, they're best friends with the Warlord. So when you play it, all other royalty lose their value. Elders lose their abilities and their value as well. But your Warlord gets to be superpowered. It becomes a 9 and it has royalty. So the Immortal is an actually really interesting card that you can play. It's a 6, but it becomes a 5 once in court. which means that a soldier can usher them out if they feel like they have control of the court themselves. So those are two to look out for. There's also two new kings. You can choose to play with the normal king. There is one king called the Charismatic Leader, where at the beginning of the game, you show graciously to your opponent what your successor card is going to be. But when you flip, instead of just taking your successor, you can choose to take your successor, or you can rally a card from your army, which is of equal or lower value of your successor. So it's kind of like I'll let you know what's going on with my hand, but I have a little bit more flexibility.
That's right. And one thing to note about that, that's a free rally. So that means that card that you rally using the Charismatic Leader is not exhausted. You can still use that later in the match as well. So it's a great way to get one of those cards and still have it for use to draw into your hand at the beginning of a future turn.
That's right. So if you take something at the beginning of the round, you have to exhaust some of your resources. But if you do it through a king, then you don't need to. So speaking of the second king is kind of the opposite of the Charismatic Leader. Instead of graciously showing your successor to your opponent, you are hiding two cards from them. And if you happen to flip your king on the card that is the same value as your successor, then you get to actually take both cards back into your hand, which is kind of crazy. So not only that, if you wanted to, that second card that you put down, you can get rid of and rally as well. So both of these kings kind of offer you a more tricky but a more cost-effective way of getting cards out of your army. So speaking of the army, there are those base cards that we're talking about. Both players also have a set of signature cards that they can use. We drafted before the game started. Both players drafted what cards they're going to be using this game. So Yedi has decided to go with the Nocturne. The Nocturne allows you, if there's disgrace cards in court and you play it, you tell your opponent, hey, soldier, or whatever card name you want, do I have it in my hand, yes or no? And if they guess incorrectly, you get to go through their hand and take one card and pluck it out and just throw it away. So Nocturne is a pretty scary card to go up against. And again, you have to play on disgraced. There has to be disgraced cards in court first. So you have to start being wary when they start rallying around that time.
Yeah, it can be devastating if you likely know what's in your opponent's hand, which is very common late in the game. A Nocturne play can be devastating because that one card you're relying on to survive can suddenly be thrown right out of your hand.
That's right. And then the second, we got the Lock Shift. We got to see that in play last night as well, which is simply when you play it, you have a choice. You can say, I want to see dungeon cards. You can look at your opponent's dungeon card, which is the card that they threw away, and then both of you pick up your dungeon card. So you can hide something essentially in your dungeon and then pull it out. Finally, the Exile is a big 8. It loses one value on the throne for each card that has a value of 7 or higher. But when you play it, all cards are muted until the start of your next turn. Muted means that their abilities do not fire.
Yeah, they just become numerical cards. So effectively, you get a free turn, which can be devastating if your opponent is relying on assassinating you. It can be devastating if your opponent needs to play a big card that turn, whose ability has now been muted. It can really turn the whole game on its head with that free turn coming around.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Goose. So Goose elected to go with what I call kind of more of a conservative pick here. He's got the Aegis, which is a card that we did not see last night. This card is immune to King's Hand. It's steadfast. It's a 3. You can play it on any card and then choose to disgrace any card in court. So essentially, this has a really high utility for, hey, I want to make sure that I can keep playing, but also you get to disgrace any card in court, and that can be really powerful against that Immortal, for example, or any other card that requires it to kind of stay face up.
Yeah, the Aegis is sort of like a super zealot. It's like a zealot that can be played at any time that also acquires Soldier's ability, and notably, it can also be played on royalty, unlike a zealot. So correct, very powerful defensive
and
card.
Plus, I hate the zealot, so I'm glad that we made another card. All right, insider joke. All right, so Ancestor, we saw a lot of play yesterday. Ancestor's like a beefed up elder. She gets to be played on any royalty, and if you do, you get to take any exhausted card from your army and put it back into your army. Then you get to rally as well. Also, elders are buffed. So if you have the Ancestor out in play, all elders gain steadfast, meaning they're not muted anymore, and they get +3 value. So, if there's a pesky immortal trying to start a coup and, starts making the diminished power of the elders, you can play the Ancestor and all of a sudden they're back up to being able to fight against the mortal and the warlord. So
yeah, having juiced elders is big. And again, being able to pick a card back into your army can really change the resource equation in your hand. It's like getting another mulligan. So it's a very effective card when you think about match state and how it improves your match state.
And it's a good thing that Goose is the one who chose the one that helps him get stuff back into his hands, since he was the one with the full canteen last time.
That's right.
In the finals last time. All right, and then finally, the Conspiracist. You play this card. That means the next card you play from your antechamber on your next turn, any card that you play will gain Steadfast, meaning it can't be muted, and has +1 value while in court. So it retains its abilities and everything while in court. So Conspiracist is super powerful to kind of set up a big play, either go for a big number, or if the Mystic, for example, nullifies your assassin, you can play your Conspiracist, and for the next turn, they got to be careful.
Yeah, Conspiracist in many ways is the inverse of the Exile, where the Exile mutes everything for a turn. The Conspiracist makes things that can't be muted for a turn. So you've got to have a big turn ahead of you, and you want to make sure that whatever needs to happen happens. The Conspiracist can make it happen.
That's right. All right. So if you have any questions, pop them in chat. We're happy to answer them. There's some veterans, I think, who are in chat as well. So it's going to be really interesting, So Yedi has those aggressive signature cards, kind of like Nocturne, maybe tricky stuff with the Lock Shift, a big Exile trying to win the game. Whereas Goose is playing more of the conservative with the Ancestor to try to get cards back into his army, the Aegis, which can be played on anything, and finally the Conspiracist, which helps him kind of overcome an Exile. So it's going to be a really interesting match, and I think we're probably ready to go over to the stadium. What do you think?
Let's head on in. And just a quick reminder again, for those of you whose rules, these are new to this expansion, which is just about everyone who wasn't part of the beta. We'll go over these rules as we go. But again, key things to remember: no mulligans. Everyone has an army they can draw from to augment and replace parts of their hand at the start of each hand. And there are now new special signature cards that are in those armies that they can use to really make a powerful hand if they want to reach into their army to grab it.
And that's right. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Looks like Goose is the true king, and he's deciding to go first. What that means is that Yedi now decides on his muster, meaning that he gets to choose whether he wants to try some of those new cards with this hand that he has, which, it's looking a little cool over there. We've got, double Inquisitor, double Soldier. He's got some beef. The Mortal here is not super great for him because of the fact that he doesn't have the Warlord, but it can help against Royalty if that's a factor. On the other side, Goose has quite a lot of strong cards here. He's got the 6/1 combo. He's got his Princess here. King's Hand to stop any sort of debauchery with the Assassin, and can try to go and jailbreak this Queen, which is what this Warden ability is. If you play the Warden and there's 4 cards in court, then you are able to essentially exchange a card with the accused card. So Yedi is deciding to recruit from his army here. He has to first choose a card. He chose to take this Oathbound. So he went with an Oathbound because he doesn't have one yet. So he's pulling that out of the army. That's the army version. He has to exhaust a card from his army as a cost to being able to recruit at the beginning of the round. And he got rid of one of his soldiers. So he has ended his muster phase, so he has just gone ahead and switched out one of his soldiers for an Oathbound.
That's right. And so
looks like Goose is just going straight into it. He has a plan. He went straight into grabbing an Inquisitor from his army. Look at this little, I want to say idiot. These Inquisitors are so funny. But this one, he's got his little shadow. He's got the fire in the background. So he got his Inquisitor, and he replaced his Elder with that, and then he also exhausted an Elder.
That's right. So when you muster, you both exhaust the card you're drawing from your army and one additional card.
Yeah,
so
that's the cost of doing a muster for the first time. If you do multiple musters, you only have to pay that cost one time.
That's right.
For that specific round.
Now, one important thing about the setup of this hand, right? So the hand that Yedi had here would be a mulligan candidate under normal circumstances. But because of access to the army,
throws away. Look at this.
So Goose throws away the king's hand.
Okay, so we knew Goose is gonna be loosey goosey, is what we call it when he does stuff like this. I think what he's trying to read here is that he thinks there's gonna be a lock shift play, and he's trying to counter that lock shift play by being like, you know what, I'll just throw an important card as well. But maybe he just realizes that he doesn't need it. But now he's in threat of the Assassin.
That's right. Now his countermeasures for the Assassin are he does have an Inquisitor and he does have a Mystic. But, boy, that is a really powerful card to toss away. I'm going to guess he's going to lead off with a Judge and Inquisitor combo. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and just check the chat here and make sure he doesn't want, like, a redo. So he puts his Fool away, and I think you're right. I think he's going to do a Judge into Assassin call just to kind of set things up. If he gets this wrong, which we know he'll get it right if it is an assassin call, he'll get to use his Inquisitor next time he flips. So here he goes. Judge, assassin, really good, hits it right there, and then he's going to throw in the Inquisitor.
Yes, most likely Inquisitor will be a successor card. And then, we'll see what he wants to Inquisit. Most likely it will be the Assassin, knowing that Yedi won't have a countermeasure for that.
Maybe, yeah. I think he's got that Mystic as well, but we'll see what happens. So now Yedi should see that this was the army card that he recruited based on the cool art, the tapered flag,
That's right.
as opposed to the non-tapered flag. Look at that. Michael Hirschon putting out 2 different designs. All right, what do you play here as Yedi? Do you play your soldier? There's no reason not to, I feel like.
Yeah, it's an interesting call. You might just toss out the Immortal right now.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You could toss out the Immortal. He did decide to keep it, which is interesting for me because it's not a great card to keep in your hand right now.
Yeah, the tough thing with the Immortal is, right...
Oh, he does go soldier. Asks for King's Hand, funny enough.
Yeah, and right, misses, but that's not an expensive miss.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, especially right now, Yedi is going to want to leave cards face up in the court. He doesn't want disgrace cards because he doesn't have the Mystic. And here, comes the Assassin. Inquisits the Assassin out.
Is that going to be a flip, you think?
A King flip on that?
You got to be wary of the Sentry, but you still have a backup Mystic. I don't know.
I think he
grab the Queen here.
Warden, yeah, I think Warden be the obvious play right now.
What do you take? What do you exchange with it? The Oathbound?
Probably Oathbound, yeah. I got that Queen just sitting there. The Warden can fetch you. You got 4 face-up cards in the court. But he's not going to leap into that willy-nilly. He's going to think about other options here. But I think the Queen is a very attractive target. Granted, again, when you have the Fool, the Queen does have synergy with that.
Unless the Immortal's out.
Unless the Immortal is out, that's correct. Now, doing a King flip here, you get access to your Fool, but then you give initiative to Yedi. And, given what we know what Yedi has in their hand, he just throws out a straight Oathbound.
He's thinking about the pressure here, I think. And what's interesting is that if Yedi plays... this is not a bad time to play the Immortal, but if he plays his Oathbound, he'll let him know. Okay, so here comes the Immortal.
Immortal's out. Now, he could still do the Warden play.
Yeah.
Or he could go with his Mystic and swing, although, what he might swing at is an interesting question.
I wonder what Yedi's game plan is here, because the problem is that even with the Immortal out, you still have the threat of an instant coup with that Warlord down here. This Warlord is now super duper dangerous, and if he flips his King and he plays the Warlord, he basically wins. The coup, a coup Warlord is very, very powerful, meaning that the Immortal is out and then you have a Warlord in hand.
Yeah, usually the countermeasure to a buffed Warlord is the Zealot, but now the Warlord is royalty, so the Zealot won't help. The only countermeasure that Yedi has for the buffed Warlord from the Immortal is a King flip.
And the Oathbound that he pulled.
Oh, right, and the Oathbound, you're right.
So he does have that. He does have that safety net, but I can't help but think that Goose is going to continue to just pressure him. He flips. Interesting. So he does get rid of no Immortal this time around. The King says, "Stop it.
Yep.
Get out of here."
King steps in on that, gets access to his Fool. Now, Yedi's initiative, which means you could play his Inquisitor to try to drive the hand.
Yeah. You Inquisit. I think you hit the Princess here, and then you play your Elder on top of it. Of course, there's still problems with all the cards that he has in his hand. But I think maybe Goose was starting to think about, hey, I should flip before this Assassin comes back online.
Yeah, that's a fair thought. Yep, okay, yep, he Inquisits out the Princess.
Good.
And then we'll likely Elder on it. Now, the risk of Eldering on it is, Goose now, again, can pick up the Queen with his Warden.
With ability. Interesting. What do you trade here as Yedi? Immediately
traded
the Oathbound.
The one that he mustered at the beginning of the hand.
Interesting. He's kind of going fast. He knows what's going on. I wonder why he decided. I think you would have thought that maybe he was getting the Fool, but obviously we don't know what, maybe he was thinking it was going to be an Oathbound for an Oathbound because that's the throwaway card.
Now, Fool's a real liability here, but you have the Sentry to trade it for something.
Yeah, he's going to have to make some decisions here because he's not going to be able to pick anything up with really the Sentry that's going to help other than maybe an Oathbound, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but you have to flip first in order to get ammunition to play the Sentry, then flip it for something, and then do a 6-1. But at that point, Goose is going to know exactly what you have in your hand and counter it.
Yeah, I mean, well, if he Sentries to trade the Fool for an Oathbound, then...
Oh, you mean to try to escape the hand?
Yeah, to try to escape out. That's one option. Just get out of here with 1 point loss, which does... That avenue seems to be open.
I think you kind of have to. You're right. So you get rid of the Fool, you get the Oathbound, and then you have to flip at some point, and then you have to either do a 6-3 combo or you have to play the 3 and then the 6 successfully, which we know is not an option down here. So it would have to be a 6-3 combo. Of course, Goose can artificially diminish his card value with that Mystic.
So that's exactly what he did. So played the Sentry, traded Fool for Oathbound.
Shows that Oathbound. Come on, dude. Pick up your army card. What are you doing? This Oathbound versus this Oathbound? Come on. Look, borderless. Look how beautiful that. That's beautiful. Its own flavor text.
For those who are curious, there is no mechanical difference between the Oathbounds on offer. This is an aesthetic preference.
Okay, so he's gonna switch. He's gonna switch. Hopefully, he doesn't switch that Mystic because he needs that in order to get rid of that Oathbound, essentially. Maybe he's thinking, okay, he does get rid of the Mystic here, so I'm afraid that I'm shaking my boots. So Yeti's gonna have to flip here. Goose has to play something that won't be Oathboundable, which in this case it was. I think that Goose could have maybe gotten 2 points there. He's way smarter than I am, though. I think that though, if you keep this here, right, you don't actually do that. He still has to flip. He grabs the what is it called? The Zealot.
Yeah.
So that's Zealot Oathbound versus Warden. You then hit the 7 and you say, I don't know, 6s or whatever you want, and then you play the Warlord. You guarantee. Wait, no, you have to kill the Zealot.
Yeah, the Zealot's what needed to have.
You get the Zealot.
Wiped, yeah.
Yeah. You then use the Mystic. You say 3s. He has to play a card, and then you play the Warlord, and you win.
Yeah,
2 points.
Yeah, no way to get it out. Now, granted, we can see this because we don't know that the other Oathbound was the burn. They don't know that other Oathbound.
You think it might have been like a double Oathbound potentially for Goose?
Yeah, it could have been 6 to get the 6 out.
Well, regardless, he got 1 point, and that was a hell of a hand for Yeti to try to claw back into. We look back at the beginning of this. This is not a winnable hand. He expended 1 army, so did Goose, and look at that. Only a 1 point loss, so that's actually a really good mitigation.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm Yeti, I think I'm satisfied. Again, I started with a weak hand. On my army cards, I didn't use any of my signature cards.
Yeah.
So his game state is fine. Goose also pulled and exhausted 2 of his base cards out of his army. 1 point loss from a weak hand. Feel pretty good coming out of that.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think there are impactful army cards that were taken. There was wow, this hand. This is going to be an interesting one. A real barn burner. You got Oathbound. Oathbound's a really powerful card. Inquisitor is also a really powerful card. So both of those make out this early doesn't surprise me. Now, we got True King over here from Yeti. So Yeti has to make a decision on how he wants to play this one. He's kind of got a little bit more beef this time, but he's definitely got is facing a double royalty Warlord again. He's got that Immortal. I wonder if how he's gonna use this.
Well, I think the way he's looking at this, right, is he's got the Assassin and the King's Hand, and the Mystic. So, and the 1 Inquisitor that's in the match. So Goose has got a lot of beef, but Goose is very lacking on Assassin countermeasures.
Yeah, I would definitely go first here as Yeti, just so I can also force Goose to muster first. Because then if Goose doesn't muster anything, you're playing straight old Imposter Kings. You have a lot more options. So I wonder if he's going to think about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Yeti, you're looking at this. He can't even get the Inquisitor from an Warden because Yeti's got that too. So I think the mustering is...
Oh, he decides that Goose goes first. Interesting.
Yeah. So that means that Yeti there's a lot of information to be gained out of who musters first and what they choose to muster. Because, yeah, I mean, this is a dangerous situation for Goose. And if Goose didn't take anything from his army, that signals the Yeti, I might have a real opportunity for a 3-point win via assassination here. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's just super interesting because, like, now that he has to muster first, it's harder to kind of go into a trickier play, like if you want to do a master tactician, maybe throw a 6 down and try to inquisit out a 6 later on in the game to get that flip on the master tactician. It also means that, yeah, Goose is going to have a lot more time to prepare on what his lines are going to be. Maybe he realizes, you know what, he doesn't have any Inquisitors, so he's going to have to play some high numbers, and I have some stuff to counter high numbers. But yeah, I don't know exactly what the plan is going to be here until we actually see what his muster is going to be. This could be that lock shift play where you throw away your assassin and then bring it back as a surprise. But
yeah, I mean, the thing, right, is
I think you have to go with an assassin play for Yeti.
Yeah, there's not a lot of value with this base state in Yeti hiding his assassin because he knows there's no Inquisitor around to do anything to it. So you can just leave it out there, really. There's not a lot of value in hiding it. Now, neither player knows that neither player knows that the Fool is not in this game. This is a trap hand for Goose. It looks like he has a much better hand than he does.
Yeah, for sure. I think that assassin play is definitely going to be kind of crazy. He does decide to recruit the lock shift, getting rid of the Warden. Interestingly enough, that's a high value card with a low value hand.
Yeah, again, the Warden is more valuable as a 7 to him than it is for its ability.
So he gets rid of his soldier in order to pay for it. So now he's got his soldier, elder, and oathbound all exhausted, and his lock shift is in play. Reminder, lock shift is the one where the dungeon card, the card that you toss away, after you play the lock shift, you can have both players pick up their dungeon card, and you get to look at your opponent's dungeon card. So there's some interesting tempo plays here. It's like a hidden successor, as we call it.
Yeah, I'm interested that they went for the lock shift on this hand, because, I mean, one value of the lock shift, right, is sometimes you've got a hand where you need every card in it. You can't really afford to burn something, and maybe that's the way he's looking at it because he really needs every card. He needs to get utility out of every card to survive long enough to do the assassination, and I think that might be what he's thinking with the lock shift. I need to make use of all 9 cards I've got. And for Goose, Goose is gonna pass. So that's interesting. Again, didn't go for.
Well, no, Goose hasn't. The Yeti just finished.
Oh, sorry, Yeti.
Yeah. So I think he was thinking whether he should pick up another king or not. Again, both players are kind of trash talking each other in the chat, so I assume that So there's some goading going on right now, as you're just showing. And he just does pass.
Yeah, he did pass.
So maybe I should have just let it play out.
Yeah, the thing that Goose really could have used was that Inquisitor, but the Inquisitor was already exhausted from the last hand, so had to let it go. Decided to save his army for a future round.
And you think he's just gonna bludgeon him?
It's his only option. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have any assassination countermeasures, so you just have to hope you can beat him before you run out of cards and they're forced into a king flip.
Mm-hmm.
And he does get to go first, which means he dictates the terms. I'm really curious what the opening play is. He might lead with a soldier, try to boost it to a 7, and just steer with numbers right away.
Yeah. I think that if I'm Goose right now, I would think there's a Nocturne play coming. That would be the thing I would think that Yeti is probably pulling. And how you counter that is essentially, as you said, you can't really pull an Inquisitor right now. But denying disgracing until later in the game makes it so they can't play it when they want to.
That's right. So lead with your soldier. Don't disgrace anything. Push a 7. Make them play on it.
That throws away his elder. Interesting.
Boy, again, going against 2 loyalty.
I mean, that's his lock shiftable card, I think.
Yeah, so I think he's maybe just keeping his powder dry, knowing he can pull that back. He had to put something there. I mean, another option for Goose, speaking of just pushing, is to just, you don't have the Fool. He doesn't know that Yeti doesn't have it either. So you maybe keep the Queen around. You might just leave with the Princess and just say, here, come and get it.
Goes for an Oathbound call. Gets
Okay,
it.
hits,
So that's
so-
going to be a 7.
So 7 for Yeti. Yeti only has one card.
He put away both of his 7s. One of them's
Yeah,
in
he only has one card that can play on a 7 without
He's
king
flipping.
flip, so he just goes right for the king flip. So, and that's fair. I
Just
think,
soldier it again. I mean, might as well just do the same
yeah,
thing.
push the big numbers. Now, Yeti, it would have been very aggressive to try for 3 points here. I don't think he had enough beef in his hand to last without flipping his king. But very interesting indeed. So, yeah, Goose is now looking at it, saying, okay, flipped right away. Maybe I keep pushing. And
that's one way to push.
yeah, so lays down sentry, an 8. And again, Yeti.
Not a super comfortable feeling here, but you got the king's hand that you can play. Yeah, I think that's what you do.
But he does. So now, if you're Goose, you're not going to risk a king flip here. Most likely to... What's the term? We don't want to use the tough one. For raw.
Yeah. It's which one's gonna be doing it?
Well, Goose could try a blind flip. Knowing might get assassinated. I think that would be very unwise here. Obviously, we know that.
I'm glad we didn't have to actually go through that exercise. Now, here's the part that sucks. He threw away his elder, so he can't elder this. He's gonna have to oathbound here. And I think, he pretty much has to oathbound into a lock shift and pull it right now.
Yeah, he knows the princess is still there. But yeah, he only has one playable card right now. It's his oathbound. It's just what to follow it up
Also,
with.
oathbound into judge and, hope that you get it so you can get a lock shift to kind of prolong the pain. That's probably has to be the play, right?
Yeah, because you just have to survive. So, yeah, oathbound in the judge. And then, boy, better guess right if you're going to go that route. Princess, you got it. All right.
Oh, boy.
All right. So that, yep, and there comes the lock shift. You had exactly right.
All right. Well.
So Yeti most likely here. I wouldn't be surprised to see the soldier come out and for him to keep disgracing because, again, he suspects that Yeti might have the fool.
Yeah.
We know that he doesn't, but, it would be unlikely that he doesn't.
It's funny to see a lock shift come out in the antechamber like that. It's like, okay, well, is he going to use it or is it just going to be a 5? In this case, we know he's going to have to use it, but...
Yeah, it's true. You don't have to use the lock shift's ability. You do give something to your opponent by using it, which they also get their dungeon card. But, in this case, Goose's dungeon card, we know, is low value because it's an elder for someone who had both royalty cards. Again... Goose thinking through this. I actually am a little bit surprised. I think, I would just go right for the soldier. Is he pondering what do you think would be the other option here?
He might be just saving the soldier for the immortal, but it's not super dangerous since he has the warlord.
Yeah, immortal is good for him because, then it buffs his warlord.
Okay, he does a soft 6, goes straight into that, grabs the elder almost immediately. Goose has 4 cards to play.
All right, so... Interesting. Yeah, now he's got that elder, which is low value to him. And
you know what?
But he
This
could
is
trade
smart.
it.
This is smart. So he did oathbound first, so that way now he can play the soldier, and if he hits, that means the immortal can't be played on it. So maybe he's just thinking, I need bigger number than 6.
Yeah,
that's
that might
pretty
be
smart.
Yep.
So yeah, I think now he wants to hit this soldier. He's sweating a little bit here. I think he knows the assassin's coming. Nails it. Says assassin.
Okay. Now, one disadvantage of the lock shift and all this is it does extend Goose's hand.
It does, yeah, but it's all else equal, right? And it happens to be the thing that he threw away is the thing that he doesn't care about extending.
Yep.
So
there we go. So Yeti now, there's only one card he can play.
Yeti pretty much has to use his mystic and say the number 7 in order to survive.
Yeah, to get the warlord out of the match.
Correct.
And that's exactly what he does.
does.
And so, all right, now, Goose, this is an opportunity to ditch the elder. And he can trade away the warlord, which still can be played as a 7.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to ditch the warlord here, yeah. This is... I can't think fast enough, but I think right now, okay,
Yep.
so he goes with the elder.
Ditches the elder. And
try to explain the thing, but now he's got he doesn't know he has an inquisitor. That Inquisitor is going to be super powerful if you pull that princess right now.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you can force a princess play, which he could then Elder on top of, and then Goose would be forced to play the Warlord, which would be a 3 on the stack, which could then be responded to with the Immortal.
He can't just go that fast with it, though, because what happens here, he actually needs to Inquisit the Warlord, because if he Inquisits the princess can swap the Warlord, and then he actually will have enough cards to stop the assassin before he'll run out of cards. So, yeah, he's going to have to, I think this Inquisitor has to hit Warlord. And he should know that he has the Warlord in hand because of, I don't know, he's already committed to mysticking it, so... Maybe second guessing it because of the Elder play, but I think so what I'm trying to say is that if you Inquisit the princess and he forces a swap, he's giving you the Warlord. You're getting what back?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If he gives him the Immortal, then he's actually going to be able to sustain himself. So he does the right play here. I think maybe Yeti's listening to this mic. Let me make sure that he's not cheating here. He's doing exactly what I'm saying. This is the right play, I think, because now... He can play the Immortal.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, shoot. He can't play the Immortal.
Why?
Oh, no.
Why can't he play the Immortal?
I mean, he sure can, but his Elder then can't stop that princess.
Oh, right. It will no longer be royalty.
Oh, no.
Oh, my. So, right.
You got to get rid of that Immortal if you're not playing with it. This is...
Yeah, the Immortal... So it strips royalty from the royalty cards and adds royalty to the Immortal and the Warlord. The Elder can only be played on royalty. So...
And the Elder loses its abilities anyway, so...
Oh, my. Yeah, so I believe he is toast.
Yeah.
Goose is going to play the princess now.
Oh, gosh. Is that going to be a 3-point hand? Oh, my gosh.
It will be, yeah.
Oh, he is laughing right now. I can tell. I can just... This pause.
That's
going to be a 3-point...
Boy, the Immortal is like an oddly shaped sofa. It can be. It has a lot of corners that can get caught on things, and that's exactly what happened here. This looked like 2-point win for Yeti. It's a 5-point swing because of that royalty adding subtracting ability, and boy, is that painful if you're Yeti to see that get away.
Oh my gosh, he was doing so well too with that hand. He was making it work, and then there's that one last thing, right? You know, right here. So if you hit your Inquisitor and you hit, the thing that's actually really funny is that, that Immortal is just always going to ruin him. So if he hits this, Inquisitor hits the princess and Goose decides to swap, I mean, at that point, you have to give him the Immortal for that Warden. And then Goose is you play the Elder, the Goose is going to play the Immortal, you're going to play the Warlord. That I think that line actually might have worked if he had actually done that, but he opted to do the thing I was talking about, which I intentionally misled him so he'd make the bad play here.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not because I don't understand my own game. It's actually a really tough and interesting situation, this thing. I think we look at this hand quite a lot, where you have only 4 cards left. It seems like there's not very much you can do, but this is like one of those kids puzzles where you there's a lot of actual options here. So I do think that you do hit the Inquisitor here on the princess. They force a swap. You play the Elder. They have to play their final card, which would be the Immortal in that case, and then you just play the Warlord. And then he would have had to flip, and that would have been, 2 points the other way?
That's right.
My goodness. So that's a 5-point swing over to Goose.
Yeah, if I'm Yeti here, the thing I maybe have regrets about is why didn't I toss the Immortal in lieu instead of the
Well, I mean, he picked up his Elder anyways, but you're right.
No, I'm not talking about for the burn card. I'm talking about for the trade at the beginning, the muster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for the Warden.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe he thought he could do something with it, but... We'll go to the next hand here, and it looks like, the colors have shifted a little bit here. We got more of the standard play down here with, we got an Oathbound Fool. We got 2 8s. I usually like this type of hand. Yeti immediately deciding to go first here. He's got his Inquisitor. The other Inquisitor's thrown away. Maybe he's thinking he might have the other Inquisitor. I'm sensing this could be potentially a good mass attack hand for Goose.
Goose went and pulled the Conspiracist.
Immediately gets the Conspiracist. Yeah. I wonder what he's thinking about that.
Yeah, throws away the immortal for the conspiracist.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah,
This is what we're just talking about.
Yeah, when you don't have the warlord, the immortal again can sometimes be a liability.
Yeah,
especially if the royal.
The opponents see this, right? They see this card. So, what did he disgrace? Okay, so now he's down to just his judge and his oathbound, and he decides to recruit another card. So he's doing Aegis and Conspiracist. He's trying to go. I think he's trying to finish this game.
Perhaps, yeah, and he burned.
Well, he didn't. He doesn't have to burn a card for this
that's
one.
right. So he does still have 2 cards left, and one thing about his army is one of them is the Ancestor, which can unexhaust the card when you play it.
Correct.
So his army actually is not fully depleted yet.
Correct.
Now, yeah, I think that, but I do think he's trying to press
he's not
it.
going to go for another king too. He's really.
But oddly enough, yeah, this is not an especially strong hand. It has strength in it. It has countermeasures for the assassin. It's got the 6/1 combo. So maybe he's
ended his muster.
Yeah, with the army enhancements, he thinks that this could be a 3-point winner. We'll see. Now Yedi.
Yeah, I think he's going for blood here. I mean, this is quite an aggressive. I mean, if he had aggressive cards, he chose the Aegis and Conspiracist, which aren't the super most crazy cards, but he's got to be really cautious of Yedi's ability to basically pull out all the cards he needs in order to combat this queen and princess. So
yeah, now Yedi's looking at this, and again, when you play within one hand of defeat, your calculus changes a little bit. But as we saw yesterday, right, you can't just go burn your army out right now because you're going to have to win multiple hands in order to win this match.
He does need to dig here, I think. Right, I think he at least needs to grab an exile or maybe try to do a nocturne play of sorts, but we'll see what he decides to go with. At least maybe take a different king here in order to help. Really interesting, actually. No one's chosen any of the different kings here. They're just spending money, just here and there, grabbing the cards they think they need.
Yeah, it's true. We have not seen an alternate king yet in this match. I do wonder if Yeti's pondering whether to do that here. It'd be curious to see, again, with the assassin again, what he does. Again, he does not know that he has the only Inquisitor in the match, because otherwise I'd be tempted to maybe successorize the Warden.
Is that a verb? Successorize?
To successorize, yeah, the Warden.
It's like an accessory.
Yeah, exactly.
Accessoring it.
And use the Charismatic, and that way it really gives you access to everything he has in his army.
Yeah, what's just crazy to me here is that I think it's hard to tell right now. He does not muster at all. What's hard to tell from this, this calculus here, though, you notice that your opponent decides to recruit 2 and not take an alternative king. You might think they might not have the Inquisitor. This might be some advanced level, jujitsu that I'm doing here. But the thing is that usually when you master Tactician, you want them to miss their Inquisitor so you can counter Inquisit. And you can use the Master Tactician to hide more information. Instead, he decides to just grab as many things as possible. So you might have a suspicion now.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly worth considering. He didn't get an Inquisitor because he exhausted it earlier. Yeah. This is going to be a fascinating set. And so, interesting. Puts a Sentry away.
Asks for Aegis.
Wow.
Asking for a signature card, my man.
Again, boy, that's a bold move because they would have needed to have mustered it, and he was exactly right. He had. So now he pulls the Inquisitor out. That is a bold
I like
guess.
it. I think it's super funny. This is great. I'm having a great time. Flips immediately. Assassin's going to come out. Gets countered by the King's Hand.
Burns King's Hand as a result of that. All right. And
pulls the Aegis out. Says, hey, you know what? You need to use your Aegis.
Now, what's interesting about that, right? So Yeti's got more beef in his hand. But Goose has a 6/1 combo. So,
well, I think he's going to try to pull that 6 somehow. I'm not sure what his game plan is to actually get that to happen, but he needs to somehow figure out a way to. Where's the? Oh, it's down here. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what his game plan is here, but he certainly doesn't want him to have an Aegis. I know that much.
Yeah, the Aegis is.
He's probably punishing. He's probably trying to punish Goose for throwing away an Elder because he usually does throw an Elder away, but this time he did keep it.
Interesting. Yeah. So. Yeti flips on the Aegis. And that's really interesting. Basically daring him to play the Fool here to waste it. He's definitely playing around the Fool, I think, with that.
This is going to be a pretty fast 2-point, I think, Yeti standard play if he continues this way. And that's really good for him because Goose spent, right?
He burned a lot of his army there, yeah.
This is going to be what? He's going to only have 3 cards left in his army, including an Ancestor, which can pull back. You would have thought that maybe Yeti was going to call for the Ancestor, but he decides not to, which is interesting. So instead, here we go with the Conspiracist. An Ancestor here makes sense, right? Because he got double royalty. So it's kind of interesting that he didn't.
Yeah, so there's the Conspiracist. So now the Conspiracist means no muting. Whatever's going to happen next turn is going to have to happen, and it'll also get +1.
Yep. If you look at all these cards, they're all juicy, ready to go. Ad Astra actually said the same thing in chat. He said bold card because a different reasonable muster would have been the Ancestor against 2 royalty.
Yep.
So he decides to go with the Mystic with no ability. It's tilted that way to show you that it is steadfast, proud, and a number 8.
Yeah, because of the Conspiracist, it comes out as an 8, which means Yeti. Well, Yeti has a lot of options still. He has 3 cards he could play on this, either Royalty or the Zealot. The Zealot has an advantage here in that it cannot be 6-1'd. It's the one option that is not 6-1-able. It would probably force Goose. Goose would be the intriguing response to that Zealot. Let's say that much. Or you could throw the Royalty out, which I think, or the Queen. Yeah, now Queen can get 6-1, but pointlessly. So here it comes. And yeah, it gets 6-1, 6th.
Yep, he's still hiding that he has basically the old Elder there, because the 6-1's not showing it, and Goose might just try to squeak out of this one, trying to really get out with just a 1-point loss. The issue is that Yeti still has that Zealot, which is a fantastically designed card that lets you play on any card that's not royalty.
I know you're always talking about how much you love it. All right, it comes with the Warlord.
Interesting. So now, actually, funny enough, because we have perfect information, the right play for Goose is to do Oathbound into Sentry.
Yeah.
And then just whatever Goose, whatever. Oh, sorry, that's a princess, not a queen, so he can also swap.
Yeah, that's right.
Oof.
I think actually, but so there goes the Sentry. Yep. There's a Zealot.
Yep. And then he plays the Oathbound, and then he gets out.
Yeah.
He's gonna get out of here. He's not only gonna get out of here, he's gonna win.
He's going to get 2. Yep,
he's there it is. Point.
Wow. I think if we rewind the tape, I'd be curious to see what happened if Yeti played, instead of playing the Warlord here, played his Zealot here.
Play the where?
Instead of the Warlord, play the Zealot on the Fool.
Okay.
Because if you play the Zealot on the Fool,
okay, then
Goose can play any of those 3 cards.
So there we go. There's the permutations you love.
Yeah.
You definitely will probably play the Sentry right there, right?
I think maybe. No, you might want to be trying to save that for the Warlord.
Warlord's going to get beefed. The problem is that princess is going to let you swap. I don't know how Goose navigated out of this. This is so right here. I think it's still anyone's game, right? He chose to go with the Sentry. At this point, is there a way Yeti could win? He chose to go. So if you do princess instead and swap, you get an Oathbound. They get a Zealot. Sorry, Oathbound for the Zealot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you play the Elder on that. Then the Zealot plays. And then you can still go
same outcome. Yeah.
So I think at this point it's over.
Yeah.
So it's back to where I think you're talking about. There's triple permutations here. I'm gonna have.
Yeah, we'll have to take that one offline about what the best option is. But I think here I'd be curious to see what would happen with the Zealot play. If there was maybe a way for Yeti to keep the win on this. But as it is, again, a real abracadabra moment from Goose to turn this one into a victory.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, he spent the money. He got the money he's got his money's worth. So that's good for him. And
so it makes it 5-0 going into this next round. So Goose takes the first 3 rounds from an army situation. So just taking a quick look here. So Goose has got 3 cards left in his army. The Judge, Oathbound, and the Ancestor, which can refresh cards. And then in Yeti's army, Yeti's got 4. So Inquisitor, Judge, the Nocturne, and the Exile. So 2 of his signatures remain.
And just to go back for just a second, I was talking about the Conspiracist. I love this funny little leapfrog where he goes from 7 to 8, preventing this warlord from being played, which actually kind of changed a lot of the things there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another point to watch going through the tapes. So, but anyways, we go over here. We see that Goose is the true king. No, Goose has never been the true king. It's always been Yedi. Yedi has to make a big decision here. Not the best hand again. Got a 9-8-7, which is great. He's got control of the assassin. Last game, Goose was able to circumvent it by just getting his king's hand out quickly after the judge play, fearing that maybe he would pull it out. The Immortal is they imprisoned her, which is good.
Yeah.
She's actually trying to cause a coup, so it makes sense she should be imprisoned.
Yep, that's right. And then the fool who's trying to warn the king about it has been
randomly burned.
So it's interesting, right? If you're Yedi, you're looking at this, you think, I have the assassin.
Yedi went first here, by the way.
But Yedi's going first. But my
sense.
opponent has all of the assassin countermeasures. Mm-hmm. So probably both Inquisitors, the King's Hand, the Mystic. So, all right. Assassin at best is a feint. Do I even want to keep it around? But if you don't, then what are the win conditions for this hand? Not seeing anything too exciting here. I might be reach for the Nocturne. This could be a Nocturne case.
I think definitely. I mean, I think Yedi has to get some momentum back. The big good news about going first, though, is that he gets to see what Goose does first. And this is where
Goose ran for the Master Tactician. The first time we've seen the Master Tactician come out. But when you have two Inquisitors, Mass Tac is a good option.
All right, Goose going for the Master Tactician. Do you also go with the Ancestor? No, he is going to just end his muster there. He's just going to grab the Master Tactician, which means he will get essentially two successors, a successor and a squire. And if he flips his king, he gets to choose which one he puts back into his hand, losing the other one. So the downside of the Master Tactician is that you lose a card, like if you were to play an Oathbound. However, he is going second, which means that he has that allowance. Also, if he happens to flip his king and his successor happens to be the same value as the card that's on the throne, he does get to get both of his cards in hand or go to his army.
Yeah, I'm wondering, again, it combos very well with Inquisitors because that way you can force out a card to flip on. Curious thing is, right, which card is he thinking? What is his number that he's considering here?
Well, that's the thing I love about the Master Tactician. It could be that you are trying to hit that right number. It could be that you are also not, and you're just using it to mess with your opponent's head. More often than not, I think the Master Tactician, this is just me, is more powerful as a deterrent than it is an actual... there we go. We got the opposing king over here doing the Charismatic Leader.
Charismatic Leader. All right, so trying to get the free muster.
Woo.
And again, you can do a free muster swapping your successor for a army card of equal or lesser value.
That's right.
But the drawback is you've got to play it face up.
Immediately puts his queen as a successor. So he's trying to do queen, elder, squire. He's trying to do a pull into the princess. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep.
And then he can get rid of this elder too because he doesn't need it. If he hits correctly on the princess, he doesn't need the elder, so he throws it away, grabs something from his army.
So Yeti successored his elder, which means there is not going to be any mustering he can do off of it. Is that to expose information like what we saw yesterday, do you think?
I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting. All right. I mean, one thing it shows is you maybe trying to goad in some sort of play here. It could be and he burned his assassin, which is not surprising for the reasons we mentioned before. It's curious to see what the outs are in this. And if I'm Goose now, I think, well, I've got one of the two royalty cards, and I had the other elder. If I can get that princess out, that forces Yeti to have to preserve his king swap as the only antidote to my potential royalty play. Mm-hmm. So might be playing into Goose's hands here. We'll see.
So we're going to go ahead and see. I think Yeti has to go first here. He's deciding what he's going to do here. I think you judge. I mean, I think he's got all the 5, so he's not worried about Master Tactician on the 5.
No, not worried about that. Judge, guess, but judge into what? Could it be the battery? Could we see the battery again here in a moment?
Your favorite.
I did win. It was in the match-winning round last time around. It was the opening play, but here we go. So, Soldier is the lead off from Yeti for King's Hand. So I guess just trying to pressure with the 7.
Great. I like that. By the way, I did ask the players to see if that was an intentional play on Yeti's part, and Goose said it's a handicap because I'm playing with Master Tactician. So, all right. I do like this play at the beginning here. It's starting with pressure rather than giving opportunity. Now, Goose can go into an Oathbound, Inquisit if he wants to try to start that process. He could just play his Mystic. He's got a lot of options here.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because the battery also puts pressure, too. He's trying to save his judge for later, it must be. So, all right. He 6-4s into the assassin and misses. Oh, that's an expensive miss there.
That is
and
not great.
Yeti called it, knew the assassin was just at best a feint. So, threw it away.
Maybe
and
he saw the
off.
game yesterday and saw, hey, you know what? It's that feint again. It's not in my hands.
And all right, so now Yeti with initiative. Go judge now?
Yeah, why not? Now you could do the judge probably pretty safely.
You could do the battery now even if you so desired.
You just delay the game so that way the Master Tactician doesn't have that value that you're looking for.
Yeah, and again, what you don't want to allow, I mean, granted, Goose...
At this point, Goose is just going to have to burn.
Yeah, or you can just put a 7 down straight, which is what Yeti just did with the Warden. Probably, yeah, I don't think he'd be interested in the Immortal here, so just get rid of it now. Goose in an interesting spot.
6-4 Princess and then swap and then flip.
Yeah, I mean, try to get rid of the Princess.
What's super funny here is that if Yeti decides to use the Princess's ability, Goose could King's Hand it, but he doesn't want the King's Hand
Yeah, he needs the King flip on it. Yeah, exactly. So this is a really intriguing setup. Instead, just Mystics.
He does need to do this play, though, because now that he's used his Inquisitor, he's pretty much down. He's now, right now, if all else equal, he will lose a card against Yeti. He'll be Yeti will be the last player to play. So now, I think he does it, but the problem is that, okay, he's
not. Yeah, okay. So it's flying fast. Now it's going to be 6-4. Has to be 6-4.
Yep. And now he can't swap.
Yeah, there's no swapping. Maybe that was what he was looking for, to avoid a swap. And
this is actually going to work out for him. This is so funny to me.
Wow.
This is actually going to work out for him. He's going to flip here. He's going to be able to show that he...
So he takes the queen, and now he can trade that elder, which you may want to do.
He chose not to do that, though. I think that he decided to just not show his successor. So there's two options you have with the Master Tactician. You could either just take one of the cards, or you can reveal your successor to show that it has the same value and do multiple cards. And he might just choose not to show.
Well, that's going to be the winning. No, it won't be.
Unless he's trying to just run out of cards.
Yeah, which I think is got to be it. Because Yeti has to king flip on that. He'll play the queen. Yeti will play the elder, and that'll be that. No, there we go.
Okay. So he did choose to take the squire. He was choosing, so he did reveal his successor to his opponent, and then either can choose to take the elder or a rally, and he decided to.
I'm really surprised he didn't go pick the ancestor up.
Well, there's no more royalty, right?
No,
he
but
just plays princess.
I know, but I mean, why take the elder then?
Because
isn't literally anything else more valuable than the elder right now?
But then you burn the card.
Oh, you do burn the card. Yeah. Okay. So,
so this is going to be pretty interesting here. Yeah, I think called for Zealot. They got it wrong. Goose is going to have to play his queen. That's going to cause a flip. And then he can play his elder. And then gets away with a 1-point loss.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Boy, that was an intriguing exchange there.
Yeah, you look at the beginning of the hand here, and you look at this, and you think, this isn't super bad for either side, really. But really, this Oathbound call is really painful.
Yeah,
when you miss it.
Yeah, it really, you're on your back foot from that point.
He was really smart about how he did this, though. Instead of actually forcing the princess to make a swap, he waited until he had no more cards in hand. He basically said, I'll go hand for hand for you, and then I'll do this so that way you can't use its ability, and then I'll still be able to pull things into my hand.
Yeah, so again, managed to wriggle out. I mean, when you miss on a 6-4 like that, a loss is very likely. So you go into damage containment mode, and Goose did that very effectively. Yeti wins, but only gets 1 point, and critically now, Goose gets the pick who goes first for the next round. So
yeah, I think this is where Goose is going to shine, right? Because he is really good at making sure that he punishes his opponents for basically anything that they play at the beginning. And his muster, I mean, he's going. This is tough actually because he has to. Wow, hold on.
It's an interesting hand.
Yeah,
so Yeti's hands, both royalty and the assassin.
He has to go first. So
yeah.
Usually I think Goose likes to let his opponent go first, but this is one where you definitely go first and then you let them muster first if they're going to.
Yeah.
And he's got that pressure. He's got 5 points, right? So like he's got that pressure to kind of continuously say, hey, you better muster here or I'm going to come pretty hard at you.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, right? So looking at the hand equation. So Yeti has both royalty and the assassin. Goose has all the assassin countermeasures, so both Inquisitors, King's Hand, and Mystic. Both Elders as well for the royalty. And an Oathbound and the Fool. So actually, that's a pretty good hand for Goose, I'd say.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
It's just as long as you don't miss those Inquisitors, right?
That's right. So especially going first. This is a hand that can do really well going first.
And you want to jailbreak that Warlord, too.
If you're Yeti, this seems like an intriguing hand for the Exile.
Oh, go just straight power?
Yeah.
Look what he
and
picked
that's
up.
exactly what he did. Yeah, so there's the Exile. We'll see what he throws away. It's the Immortal.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
He's got both royalty
you don't
and
want the Immortal hanging around. Yeah, so very, very good decision there. And tosses the Judge. That leaves Yeti's army, I believe, at 2 remaining. Yep, the Inquisitor and the Nocturne. Remember, being at less than 2 remaining, 1 card on its own is very difficult. You need to use a special king in order to get access to it.
Stays with the base king here. I think I like that. You want to make sure that you're not showing too much information. The base kings are great. The base king is still fantastic, right?
Yeah.
It's not like he's going to go for a Nocturne play here.
So there it is. Okay, Goose tosses an Elder to pull the Ancestor. He knows there's going to be
good Ancestor.
Yeah, this is the time to use the Ancestor because playing into both royalty and basically just upgraded one of the Elders is what he did. So, all right. And ends muster. Both are going to use the stock king.
Yep. I think I like that. And I think, okay, so he gets rid of one of his Inquisitors,
and
tucks his Elder.
So do you think this is starts 4-9-4, do you think?
Ideally. That's a fantastic start.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where Master Tactician shines, right? You see this? You put some of your royalty away.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't even mind putting both away, honestly. If I was if I was Yeti, just to make it so there's no way that I'd get predicted.
But how would you? But you're gonna lose one of them then, boy.
That's the thing, Dan. I'm telling you, it's okay to lose one.
It's a bold move, Cotton. See how that would have worked out, but it's all hypothetical. We'll see. So Yeti tosses a Zealot, and he successors his Assassin.
Interesting.
Expecting maybe that Goose might Inquisit on that. I am intrigued to see. If I were playing Goose's hand, I think I'd start 4-9-4, but we'll see.
Which 9?
That's an excellent question. I have the Fool, so probably the Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. That makes sense to me. All right, Goose, let's see it. What you gonna do?
All right, here we go. This is going to be, I think, pivotal. This is absolutely a pivotal play. If he misses on this, then Yeti will likely counter, I could see, with the Judge and then take initiative.
So much initiative if he misses here.
Tense moment.
I think he's just debating which 9 it's going to be. Yeah, I think, usually as Yeti, you tuck the Queen here, predicting that they're going to ask for the Queen based on the fact that they have the Fool. So I think, and then there's if he knows that I know that he knows, then, you get that interesting kind of the counterplay. And of course, they've played against each other so many times, they know what's up. So
Yep, that's right.
Just waiting on Goose to choose a 9. Hopefully he chooses a 9. What else would he choose? Exile? You think he'd be so bold? The Exile pick is actually not a terrible one because then you can flip safely because the Exile mutes everything, including the assassin. So it's not uncommon that he might choose to do that. But I don't know. I think the 494 is like a good standard play. It's looks like they need a pause for a sec. Player pause.
Player pause.
He's running to the bathroom so he can like read his little strategy guide. His game FAQ, as you said.
Well, again, it's an intriguing setup. Now, again, Yedi. Let's talk a little bit about what that exile can do for Yedi. So, again, it's an 8, which is powerful all on its own. And it does lose a little bit of steam if it's played on a bunch of other big cards because it loses 1 for every card 7 or up in the court, but that often isn't a big factor. And it mutes your opponent's next play. So not only do you have a big card, but there it is. All right, 494 goes for the queen, just as we talked about. So Yedi has to play the queen, and we're going to see the ancestor here, I think, almost certainly.
Yeah.
So, yep.
We always say stuff like that, and then he doesn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Or 6-1 into nothing, or 6-1-6.
All right. So Ancestor, if he plays the Ancestor here, he gets to choose to do a couple things here. He's gonna unexhaust the Conspiracist, it looks like, and then he gets to choose if he wants to muster it.
But he skips. Okay, so Conspiracist will be available to him in future rounds now.
Yep, here it comes.
Bring his army to 3 again. And now, Elders, we don't have to worry about Elders, but his successored Elder, as long as that Ancestor's around, is now a 6.
Yeah, the real key here is for him to do a 6-1 combo, grab the Ancestor again, and then get that Princess out and do another unexhaust.
That would be devastating combination if you can pull it off. Now, Yedi can grab initiative here because you can play a Judge on top of the Ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
And
a bad play.
A battery could prevent exactly the play that you're talking about.
Or you could just play the straight-up Soldier.
Or you could just play the Soldier now. But... Again, one of the nice things about the Judge is, again, you force your opponent to toss something away. But instead, he king flips it. That's another way to get rid of it.
Interesting. He's now giving a fool play.
He is giving a fool to pick up the queen.
That's third. I mean, I would take it. Take the deal.
Yeah, I mean, that is...
And the exile is going to be not synergizing with that assassin. This is going to be devastating.
Devastating, because Yedi literally... has only one card they can play on the queen. That's the princess.
Trouble in Paradise?
Yeah.
Boy, it would be nice to just mystic all of these 5s. Just for the heck of it.
Boy, yeah, 5's not often called by the mystic. So, it fetches the queen, gets a free card as a result of that. Now...
This is going to be tough.
It's interesting. I don't know. Yedi has a lot of power in their hand.
So he judged a queen because he knows he has the queen in his hand and gets a free play.
Battery. Yep.
But now he's going to get a free play to Mystic if he chooses, or a free.
And Mysticking 8s, even with the king's hand in his own hand, is an intriguing.
Well, the exile is steadfast, meaning that it cannot be affected by muted, but still not a bad play. I mean, you could also do this assassin. I mean, he needs 2 points to win, right? So he could just play it safe here. Yeah. And just just Peter Patter.
Try to run it out.
Yeah.
So I think Goose flips, forces the assassin out.
I actually really like this. He's playing really smart about just making it so he gets to the 2-point stay here. And what's funny here is that, as you mentioned, if he plays the queen, he has to play his princess. You play the Elder on top of that, and then if you warden that Warlord, it's going to be really powerful.
That's right.
I don't know how the exile is going to work with any of that, but it's going to be great.
It'd be intriguing. Okay, so flip.
I'm surprised that he didn't wait to flip until the exile was played. I mean, obviously he doesn't know that that's the card that was chosen, but you have a suspicion, right?
Yeah.
We'll see, because then that would have let him keep his 8.
So out it comes. Yeti has another play that
asks for a sentry.
Asks for a sentry.
Even though he has a sentry.
Intentionally misses because he doesn't want the Oathbound to go into anything.
Yeah.
But what would the Oathbound go into in this case? I mean, everything else can already play on a 7.
There's already 2, and I think that maybe he's like, it doesn't matter if I disgrace right now because he might be trying to prevent the Warden, but he's not going to be able to play the Warden this turn if he wants to grab something. I don't know. I mean, this is tense. This is close, actually.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that play. But, okay, so I'm sure there's a good reason for it. I just can't spot it. So Mystic comes out. It's just going to be a 7. If you're Yeti, so...
Exile is slowly starting to lose its value after being played. So right now it would be a 6 if it was played.
No, it'd be a 7, right?
It counts itself. So
it does count itself.
So
okay.
1, 2, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, air's starting to get out of that balloon. There it is. Okay.
So now he could play any card. All of these cards are muted. So he could play the Queen right now, funny enough, and not disgrace the entire court.
Which would allow the Warden to come out later.
Yep. He could just play his Oathbound here. Which is susceptible to that sentry play, though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, it's interesting, right? If you do like a 9/9 swap here, and then you put the Elder in, then he can sentry back up one of the royalty cards.
Well, no, because a sentry can't royalty.
That's right. Sorry, I take that.
Unless the Immortal's out.
It's just very out right now. So
lots of game states to keep track of, and I mean that's the thing that makes this situation. We keep getting back to these 4 versus 4 hands. All the players think about where their lines are going to lead them until they get to this point, and this is where it's make or break, right?
Yeah,
you take all the information that you got from your opponent and try to figure it all out here.
Try to feel it to the end.
So now the sentry is a really good play here because it forces the Queen play. But he still is going to lose potentially the game, maybe just 1 point. We'll see. Because he has that Warden.
Well, you force out the Queen play. You play the Princess.
Yep. Do the Elder. And then he plays the Soldier, and then you play the Warden.
Well, I'm just thinking... So, right, he's going to have to play it. You play the Princess.
Oh, swap?
Swap, yeah.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think the swap would be the way to go because you swap the Soldier for the Warden. I think that turns a loss into a win.
That does.
So right now, I mean,
does he know that he has the Warden in his hand, or could it be the Oathbound?
Could be the Oathbound, yeah.
Like there was he didn't.
But Oathbound results in the same outcome. So there's a Princess with no ability. So, yeah, that's going to be a 1 point loss for Yeti, I think.
Yep.
I think if he had forced a swap there, again, there's missing information.
Yeah, so I think if he thought that maybe if he had the Oathbound, he could just swap whatever the other card is. And then just do a swap,
he could,
and then just try to get out of it. But I'm not sure if that would have changed anything there. We'll have to probably save that one for the books.
All right. Well, it is a 1 point win for Goose, which moves him 1 point away from taking the match. 6-1 now. Yeti critically will get to make the call. Who goes first in the next round? Gonna need a comeback here. It's just tough because his army is depleted. His army at this point has only 2 cards left in it. The Inquisitor and the Nocturne. The Inquisitor will likely be the Nocturne's patsy. What do you think? We'll see. And
it is funny, lore-wise, you do need to sacrifice a person to the Nocturne in order to save yourself. So,
well, that seems to be very apropos.
That seems pretty
where
good.
Things are, yeah.
Look at this. Look, the whole Bunari crew's here. We got the Mortal, we got the Warlord.
Just hanging out.
Check out their tattoos, though.
Oh, they have matching tats.
Yeah, this is actually the old version of the card because I think the tat actually goes on the other side according to the lore. I'll have to double check.
Yep.
So anyways, you can talk through this hand. I'm now deathly curious on whether I have the wrong Immortal image in there.
Well,
because it does represent each of the different lines represents something for the Bunari army, obviously. Anyways, so as you mentioned, Goose now is no longer true king. We've got a tough decision here for Yeti to decide how he's going to play this one. I think he's got a stronger hand based on the stuff, but at least Goose has the assassin. Probably going to pull the Nocturne. And then we got the Conspiracist still around.
Yeah, this is an interesting hand. And a lot of the power cards are divided here. So Yeti, yep, you got Queen, 6/1 combo. Those are your main weapons. Goose has got the Assassin, Princess, Mystic, and both Elders. Interesting. And right, both of the power couple are out, the Immortal and the Warlord.
So Yeti's gonna go first, which makes sense with the double Inquisitor, and he forces Goose to make a decision. Goose immediately goes Master Tactician without thinking about it. All right. I mean, or maybe he thought about it. I don't know. I shouldn't be so quick to judge.
Well, Goose going for the Master Tactician is wild here, not having an Inquisitor to force a number out for it. That is a bold move indeed.
I think he's trying to get him to miss on something, and then he's going to hit him back with a judge.
Possibly.
We'll see. It just depends on what he decides to do with it.
All right, so you do get to hide 2 cards, but also you don't get access to those 2 cards. Master Tactician is very risky when you don't have the Assassin because you're dropping your hand size by 2 there as well.
Mm-hmm. Goes with the recruitment, grabs his good old
the Conspiracist comes back.
Funny enough, so that means he's all out of cards here, folks. And what's really funny about this is that Master Tactician is like one vehicle to get a card. He decides to shoe that and just use it for just the ability to hide
for
cards.
The double hides. Now, again, we pointed out Goose lost a previous beta match for leaving water in his canteen. This time, that will not be the case. However this will end, he will have drank all the water in his canteen. All right, now the slider passes to Yeti, who's got to make some decisions here. Yeti does have 2 cards left in his army.
I mean, if I was him, I would hold. I would hold on that Nocturne. Yeah, and he does. He goes
he's
charismatic.
got a good enough hand where he can save that.
He does charismatic. He might offer up an Inquisitor to show if he wants to grab that Nocturne. So he has the option to.
That's right.
Super cool. I think this is exactly the right play.
Yeah, I think that's smart. And he's got both Inquisitors, so probably only need access to 1 out of the gate. And, yeah, I think that might be the way it goes.
Look at that. Princess Assassin tucked away. I love
tuck
it.
away.
Love it.
Not a surprise there. You want both guesses. And, of course, yeah, you want to hide the Assassin.
Yeti will likely play as many 8s as possible here to minimize his chance of being hit by this. But I think, oh, look at that. He goes straight into...
So Yeti leads with an Oathbound instead of the Inquisitor, trying to burn up some of Goose's hand, maybe even force a flip to get those cards out to guess against with his Inquisitor. Yeah.
I mean, he has the Conspiracist. I'm not sure if it'll do much here. It'll let him play basically an 8 if he wants. Yeah,
that's right. So, yeah, 4 options for Goose. Warden, Mystic, Conspiracist, and a King flip. Sorry, I forget. Conspiracist is a 5. So he does come out with the Conspiracist. So Conspiracist comes out, which means whatever Goose plays next will be +1. Can't be muted. That's irrelevant with how the hands are.
This is actually not bad for Goose based on the hand state that we're looking at. Luckily for Goose, Yeti did throw away this soldier. Otherwise, that would have been pretty good for Yeti. Now, as it stands, Yeti has to make a decision, right? Flip, not super great. I mean, it doesn't. He can do it safely because of the King's Hand.
Yep.
You've got Oathbound. You don't want to do because you want to save that for the 6/1 combo. Can't play the Inquisitor, so now he's forcing out one of those 8s, and now Goose can play on top of this, which is great for him. He loves this. He's having a great time. Which one will he play? Probably, I think, the Warden. I'm not sure if he ever wants to exchange, though. He doesn't know that the Warlord is gone, so yeah, I'm not sure if he'd want to do that.
Yeah. So, interesting. So, just putting pressure with the 8.
Yep. But he's all out of cards after this, so if Yeti plays his King's Hand, then he's out. If he does the Oathbound Fool, he's not out. If he plays the Queen, then he gets the flip. So I think the only thing that's holding Yeti back from just slapping down that King's Hand is the Assassin threat.
That's right. So Yeti flips on that.
Interesting. And he immediately rallies the Nocturne. So he now does not have his successor. He chose to take a Nocturne instead.
Oh, boy. So now Goose, right? You've got a useless Assassin that you might still be able to get value out of by a Princess swap. Yeti preserves his King's Hand. It's got the Nocturne now. And now Nocturne's tricky to use when you're facing someone with an unflipped master attack because they've got 2 cards they're hiding that. Oh wait, sorry, I got the guessing inverted. So Goose would have to guess what's in Yeti's hand, and probably pretty guessable at the moment. I would say.
Yeah, I think. I mean, he's shown that he doesn't have a soldier because he would have played after that conspiracist. The only thing he could say is probably a warlord, but he doesn't know that Goose didn't have that warlord. So I don't think this is going to be an easy Nocturne, but we'll see. Nocturne does turn around the game pretty quickly.
All right, so Goose trying to extend the round. Plays the judge, guesses right. Now,
what do you choose? Oh, fool. So he knows the fool's in play.
Yeah, so that makes the Nocturne useless until the fool's played because he obviously knows that Yeti has a fool in his hand, can guess a correct card.
Oh, no. So Yeti chooses which card he has to guess.
Oh, that's right. It's a yes or no.
But to be fair, he pretty much knows what this hand entails at this point.
Yeah. Interesting. So,
or he should. We'll see.
Yeah, and Warlord would be the obvious thing to say, but he doesn't know Goose doesn't have it. So, all right.
So Goose is, I think, choosing what he thinks is going on here. I think it's pretty safe to call King's Hand. I think it's pretty safe. I mean, I think if he suspects that it could either be an Inquisitor or it could be a Nocturne. And I think if he suspects a Nocturne, what he's going to do is try to get some information out of this soldier.
Yep.
He's less concerned about hitting it unless he wants to get rid of some of that fool fodder. But
yeah, which granted is kind of important right now. You know, now Yeti interestingly used that.
He should know. Sorry. I should just say he should know the soldier's thrown away. He should know that the King's Hand is in the hand because Yeti wouldn't just flip without having that safety. He knows about the fool. He already called the fool. So at this point, he should know pretty much what Yeti has in his hand, and that's going to help him against this Nocturne.
Now, it's interesting. Yeti used up his Oathbound, but still has the Fool. He's waiting for Goose to flip. And Yeti can control what's in the court a bit because Yeti has the Queen. That's why Goose decided to get rid of some of the stuff to pick up.
This is why the Master Tactician is deceptive here, right? It's like Yeti can't play that Queen because he knows that it could be devastating. But now he finally plays his King's Hand, and he has to basically play the King's Hand here. He's going to give up the Fool play. But he goes Nocturne and says, I have Inquisitor. Does he have the Inquisitor? I think that's actually an interesting play because he started off the round without using his Inquisitor. So
yeah,
Goose is now thinking, wait a second. I think he still has enough information to call this, right?
Well, he knew that he had one.
He sees one here, right?
Yep.
I think this is a yes. I mean, if I'm Goose, obviously it's easy for me. I can see it, but...
Yeah, but yeah, it goes to like, why didn't he start the round with it, which is the normal play.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, Goose. Goose is feeling the pressure, I think.
I'm still amazed that they didn't use the Fool there.
Oh, well, I'm curious about that too.
I'm really amazed because I don't know how he's going to use it now.
I think maybe he's going to force the princess swap and then just slap down the queen. Maybe is what he's thinking, but we'll see. If he guesses correctly here, right? If Yeti wins this, he throws away this princess and then he plays the queen. He wins.
That's true. All right, we'll see. Boy, this is a big moment. Goose really mulling this. This is a tough call.
Yeah, I mean, you have to also consider what the risk reward is too, right? If he's wrong and there is an Inquisitor, he guessed he does not have an Inquisitor and was wrong.
Oh, so now Yeti reaches right into Goose's hand, throws out his princess,
and gets the 2-pointer right there.
Pops the queen down and wins. Yep. So 2 points.
Well, it was worth it.
Boy, set up beautifully. That Nocturne play at the end was set up right from the very first card. And Yeti's got to feel very satisfied about that. Granted, match still very much in Goose's direction. So Goose up 6-3 still. Yeti at this point has burned all but 1 card in his army. Goose's army is completely used up at this point. So we're getting more into standard Imposter Kings at this point.
Yeah, we're getting there.
And
look, we get this fun little assassin, throwing away queen. We're getting all the fun things.
Being out like that is...
So at this point, Goose is completely goosed. He's got no more army cards.
Yep.
And Yeti still has 1 that he can pull with a special king.
So if I'm Yeti's hand is better than it seems because the queen is not around.
Correct.
But
it's Goose who gets to choose since he was the one who lost that last hand.
And now remember, just because the assassin is there doesn't mean it can't be used in this game, because Warden can pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get too comfortable about the lack of an assassin threat if you're Goose, because the Warden is unaccounted for.
Yeah, Goose wants to flip early, essentially, to kind of stop that quickly in its track. But it's just not a great hand for him to be able to do so. I mean, he should realize he's got both both Oathbounds and an Elder. So his game plan is probably to try to find and kill this Elder. Because if he does that, then it's hard for Yeti to be able to survive. So Goose is going to go first. I think that's exactly maybe his game plan. So if Goose can get Yeti to flip early, he's going to be able to punish that with a princess and potentially win. Unsure about what Yeti's response is here. Do you care about getting that Inquisitor from your army? Probably not. So he just ends his muster, and now it's up to Goose, who probably is just going to end his muster. I can't imagine him picking a separate king unless he's trying to hide something with a master attack again.
Okay, they both end muster. Neither had the option to take anything, and
other than the king.
And it's interesting. They're gonna, we've seen a lot of base king play in this match. Although the last match pivotally did make great use of the alternate kings. This is going to be, outside of the presence of the Immortal and the Warden, a very core game sort of match.
Yep, for the most part. And I think, things to watch out for is exactly what you were talking about. That Warden is kind of sketchy. Goose throws away his Elder. Interesting. So he's keeping his Immortal here.
Yeah, and it's not surprising. If you've got one royalty card and an Elder, it's not uncommon, especially if you have an Oathbound, to chuck the Elder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeti successors.
Oh no, I hope he doesn't go for that queen first. We'll see.
Well,
I think he has to, right? He has to hide his Elder from this Inquisitor.
Yeah.
This is actually a good play from Yeti, I think, in terms of preparing for that.
Yeah, you
kill.
Really do, knowing you don't have any of the Oathbounds, he has to hide that because he thinks that Goose probably has both royalty, which he doesn't. So if the queen gets hoovered up and you have no Oathbounds and no elders, you're done. That's the Exodia hand.
Do you think that maybe Goose is considering maybe doing a judge instead and saving that Inquisitor until something is flipped? Because if he then Oathbounds into Inquisitor, grabs the Elder, slaps down his princess, he wins the game. Maybe,
but Goose doesn't know there's no queen. And now he does.
Or he thinks it's successored.
Yeah, that's the thing. What you described would make a lot of sense if you knew the queen was out, but
right.
You don't know that. So, yeah, well, he learned the hard way that that's the case. Now Yeti gets initiative, and boy, what do you do now if you're Yeti? Do you go right for the princess?
I think so. That's the only thing you're afraid of, or the only thing I'm afraid of. I'm scared.
Yeah, it's an intriguing matchup. Now, granted, still a lot of directions this could turn, but I bet Yeti's now thinking, why would Goose guess the queen? And all of a sudden, all those calculations about dealing with his kind of impoverished situation against double royalty now have to change, because he has to think maybe either that was a 90 chess sort of deception kind of thing.
Which Goose would do, right? Like, that's something he does do. He's going to pull out his Oathbound. I think he's just trying to pick at all the defenses here. And he's able to grab that assassin.
So pulls out the Inquisitor, and then there it is. Oh my gosh, what an interesting exchange there, and it happened so fast.
Yep. And Goose doesn't have any answers. Yeah, so he's gonna have to. Unfortunately for Yeti, he has 2 cards that are like under 3. So he's gonna probably have to flip at some point. But yeah.
Wow, what an intriguing scenario. So Inquisitor, play the Inquisitor his own to get the Oathbound out, knowing that would set up the Warden play. Now he's got the assassin and
princessin, no ability, forcing the flip. So at least now he's got it down to 2 points instead of a 3-point hand.
That's right.
And how is he going to deal with this assassin? I mean, is he going to have to do a sentry into getting one of those Inquisitors?
Yeah, I mean, a sentry
It's just hard.
Trade, the Immortal for an Inquisitor.
Then Yeti's going to jump on that, right?
Well, Yeti's going to probably play the fool, but instead he judges and he just wanted to be right there because he knows Yeti has the assassin. So, and then
he doesn't have enough way to outlast this, though. Okay, so he does the Immortal first, and then I think because Yeti has 3 cards above 5, he's able to hold off, but it was close.
Yeah.
So now Yeti has to play one of his 3.
Yeah, it's kind of funny if he plays the Warlord in advance of but no, instead he goes for...
It says the number 6, thinking he has another Oathbound.
Gets value out of it. Smart.
He does not, in this case. The Immortal is Steadfast, so it still becomes a 5.
Well, Goose does have an Oathbound. It just happens to be tucked away.
Uh-oh. Immortal play into a Warlord. That means that it's going to coup you, and then all of a sudden you get assassinated. But, I mean, I think this is kind of hard to
Yeah, so, I mean, Goose was in bad shape, with that initial miss on the Queen. And, I mean, again, the Queen being out and the way the hands were just created so much mayhem.
You think he was just banking that Warlord wasn't there, but I think, I mean, at that point you should know that the Queen is not around. Maybe he thought the Queen was successored, right? But the thing that sucks here is that he was actually so close to just kind of like, if this wasn't the big boy version of the Warlord, he could have played a sentry. He plays his King's Hand. It was so close, right? One more card, and then Yeti would have ran out of cards. He would have had a useless 3, useless 2, and a useless 1. So, but instead it's a 2-point hand for him, and then we go on to the next match.
Wow, 6-5 now. So both players within one round of winning this match. A terrific comeback from Yeti, who was down 5-0 in this hand to get to this point.
Yep.
And
he's got a worse hand than it looks, but he's got cause the sentry's out here, and boy, this is going to be a real barn burner here. He immediately makes sure that Yeti goes first, which is interesting seeing as he has the double Inquisitor. Yeah,
now Yeti has a 6-1 combo. This seems bad because you have neither royalty. You only have one of the 8s, but again, one of the 8s is out. This is winnable from Yeti's position. I don't think that
he's thinking about a Master Tactician, which I'm like, dude, don't even think about it. That's what Goose is thinking right now.
You think he's Goose?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, Goose.
There's no reason why he's not.
I can see Goose with that double Inquisitor totally, and
there's nothing. He doesn't have an Oathbound. Like he's going second. He could go Master Tactician. He'd pretty much have to do it on a 7. His Warden.
Yeah,
it's a real easy read for Yeti.
Yeah, I mean, with especially with having the Assassin, Mass Tac 7 would be
He's thinking
away.
About it.
I don't know. I don't know if you have to play that risky.
I mean, they're having fun.
Yeah, I mean, now looking at the army, so his is entirely exhausted. So no reason to even think about the charismatic unless you're trying to give information away. Now Yeti does have an Inquisitor.
If he wants an Inquisitor, he could possibly get it on a flip. And he is 2 points away from winning, so it's not like like he can't just it won't matter if he flips his king as long as he gets Goose, with his hand. So
stuck with a card, So interesting.
He's staring at the lineup right now, and I'm telling you right now, he's thinking about that.
I am just astonished that Goose is having Yeti go first here. He must be banking on some way of grabbing initiative because, Judge and 2 Inquisitors.
And no Oathbounds. Yeah,
it really seems like a hand that you want to drive the bus with.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm just surprised that that's not what he's going to do. But, that means Yeti's got to start. If you're Yeti here, what card are you thinking that you would make your initial play with? Do you just lay down a soldier and guess right just to get the beef, the clock started, get a 7 out there?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You don't want to give up any of these cards. Even just an Oathbound.
Yeah, when you don't want to give a card up, then you start thinking Mass Tac yourself, but with his hand, you can't force a number out. It really would be very difficult, unless you were willing to flip your king on a 5, which is kind of the way it would look.
Uh-oh. I didn't realize this. Actually, we're going ahead.
Oh, so there we go. Neither player mustered. They've stuck with their base kings. Goose chucks his assassin. A little surprising, maybe not. In successors to Zealot.
Yeah, so I think Goose has decided against the Master Tactician. Not bad choice. He doesn't think he's going to win with the Assassin. Interesting. And, same kings. So we're playing the base game again. There's an Immortal, there's a Warden, and it's now up to Yedi to go first. So he threw away his soldier, so he's not going to start with that pressure that way, but I think he's probably going to drop Starts off by flipping, Dan.
He flipped
on turn 1.
Wow.
He just flipped.
That...
I just can't. What?
I guess he was worried. I mean, that's where you want your whole hand. The only reason I could see to do that, Goose had the assassin, and he burned it.
Why no Oathbound? What is he doing? What is happening right now? And now the Immortal's coming out?
Well, I mean, you're playing against double royalty. You want to get it out there.
I know,
early.
but he inquisited for the Immortal.
Oh, wait, you're right. Yeah.
And then he judges, guesses Warlord, gets it right, can put the soldier in, can disgrace that.
That's actually a really good opening.
I mean, how are we going to predict that they're going to flip first?
That's amazing.
You're in awe. I mean, he could have pulled the Oathbounds out, so that way he could... I guess he's scared of the Immortal, so he was just trying to bank on that Immortal not being able to be played.
That
goes with the Inquisitor instead. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're just playing each other's hands.
Again. We'll have to ask about that, about the tactic there.
Maybe he's gonna pull the Warlord and flip on that, and not worry about the. But you want the Immortal to be gone, don't you?
One thing is the Yeti does, or Goose.
Goose wants it gone.
Goose wants it gone. Yeah.
So here he plays this. He can.
I think he wanted to get it out so he could soldier it. Maybe
he can't. I know, but he can't. He decided to do this, and so he's pulling the Warlord early so he can get a flip. I guess.
Yeah,
he's just disrupting him, and maybe this is where you King's Hand. I can't even tell. This game state is so weird. Do you King's Hand this? Is that your only way of winning?
He guessed for the Warlord.
Because he's gonna flip on it. Do you King's Hand it? If you King's Hand it, then you got a real powerful Warlord.
Yeah, but oh my gosh,
I think you King's Hand that.
Wow.
Because otherwise,
yeah, you've got a winning card.
In
the Warlord as it's set. I mean, Yeti also has 6/1 combo too, so
that's what I was saying. Okay, so he does King's Hand it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Goose now still has to play on that 6.
Right, and he can play an 8 right now, which will force the 6/1 combo or the Warlord, but he decides to go with the 7. All right, whatever.
Yeah, clearly that Elder is not of much interest at the moment.
That Immortal is going to be really painful. This is where the Conspiracist would be nice.
Yeah, I mean...
He can't flip. He basically cannot flip until he gets that Warlord out of his hand.
So, all right. Yep. Yeti plays out the string.
So you have to play one of this royalty now.
Yeah. Now, granted, that royalty, well, what Yeti could do is 6/1 on it.
Yep. That's fine. But you can't get rid of... And there's nothing you can pick up that's actually super devastating, because then you can play the other one, and then he'll have to play the Warlord, and then you can flip.
Yeah.
But it's just not great. It's a really interesting situation, but I'm not sure.
Well, what happens after that? So Goose has... this being 6/5 could be really material here.
Goose can win with 1 point.
Yeah, Goose could escape with a 1-point loss.
Yeah.
With the Warlord there, or with the Zealot. And I don't know, let's see. So, all right, he has to play the Princess. Goose now...
Yeti has to either choose between the 6/1 or the Warden.
Yeah.
Or Warlord.
So...
This game is insane.
Goes with the 6/1.
That's the one that
or
I
maybe
immediately thought of. No, there's no way.
Yeah, okay. 6/1.
To 6.
6/1 6. Okay. And now, yeah, I mean, Yeti, I don't think can
So
lose.
now he can play Soldier. Soldier's good right now. And he can guess right, which he did, and now he can get rid of that.
Yeah, he ditches the
Immortal.
Immortal has to.
Woo, he got the Soldier out. All right. Hopefully he does it. Who knows? I mean, I can't predict.
So clearly, this may be beyond
This is beyond my pay grade. I have no idea what's going on.
So okay, I mean, the Fool's out of the game. So I don't think it matters much what else gets disgraced at this point, given game state. Although neither knows the Sentry is nowhere. I mean, do you care if the Sentry's around? Which
At this
is
point,
not.
Goose should know that he has the Warlord and the Oathbound. He does not know what his hit last card is.
Yeah, when right now his last card is. Now, one thing is, okay, so he invalidates the Immortal. The Elder regains its counter ability to the Queen play.
Yep.
And how does this then play out? So, okay, he did.
Goose is very good at this type of gameplay right now.
Yeah, okay, so all right.
He's going to be able to sneak out because he's going to be able to play his Zealot on anything and then play his Queen on anything and get 1 point and win this game.
So does he King flip on this or Queen on this?
It doesn't matter, actually, because at the end of the day, he's going to have more cards than Yeti. And then he's going to play the Zealot and he's going to win.
That's right.
Yep.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
So he's just playing for that 1 point.
And there it is. My gosh. Wow.
Jeepers. I don't even know what to say. This hand is insane.
That was an intense.
Gets this out early, decides to judge for the Inquisitor, plays it, has to get a King's Handed, has to figure out a way to disable this, plays a hard card, makes him 6-1 so he can play the Soldier, guesses correctly on the Soldier because he saw what he picked up with the Fool, and then just plays it out for 1 point. I think he could have gotten 2 points there if he played it more meticulously with the King flip, but I don't think it matters. I think he plays the safe line and he wins. So congratulations to Goose. Wow. That was a barnyard brotherly burdening battle.
Yeah, it was a bonus brotherly brouhaha. So, gotta say, some incredible play there. Again, showcasing everything that is in this brand new expansion set. Fragments and Nersetti. Very, very exciting match. An intense match with a comeback that just ran out of steam there in that last round. I've got to say, that was exciting to watch, exhilarating. And I don't know, Simbu, what having now seen 2 extremely high-level games with the now finalized rules for the expanded edition, any takeaways? What are you thinking about how this expansion is shaping up?
Yeah, I gotta scrap it, I think. No, I actually, it's so fun to watch people play it. Honestly, the base game itself, super fun to watch, super fun to see how the meta has changed, the gameplay has changed over time. And yeah, I mean, I think that last game was a showcase of, boy, there's just so many options that each player can choose, and they were just countering. I mean, it's so beautiful to watch them play. They're kind of like, they're attacking, defending, going back and forth. I had no idea who was going to win that last one. So,
yeah, I mean,
oh,
ahoy!
There he is. Hello.
Hello.
Let me make sure your voice. Can you talk?
Yes, I can talk.
Okay. Very cool. Keep talking.
Awesome.
All right.
Talking is nice.
Yeah.
Talking is very good.
Very good.
Talking. I don't shut up sometimes.
That's true. All right.
Oh,
so
thanks.
I'm just kidding. Hey, thanks for stepping in and playing. That was a fantastic match to watch.
Incredible match. Yeah. My gosh.
And as the better brother, Goose is joining us now. Goose,
yeah, yes,
hello.
Course, yes.
Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
All right, is that better?
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations
on saving that 6-0 win and making it 6-5. Almost let it slip.
I make a 6-0 win really close, don't I?
Is that sorry, Nolan? Is that an Imposter King shirt I just saw?
No, actually, sorry. This is not. This is a Hosier shirt.
Oh, Hosier's still pretty.
Friend of the Imposter Kings, Hosier.
Right there. Yeah.
Congratulations, both of you. That was a lot of fun to watch.
That was an incredible match.
I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I'm gonna go straight to the games. Nolan, why did you flip at the beginning of the game?
That's a really good question. I feel like I have to think back to exactly where I was at, which is really difficult because that was a whole hand ago.
Do you have the replay available? Oh, well, we should have the replay available, right?
I could stream the replay. We could do that.
I know I'm in the frame of mind of he has two royalty,
Okay.
but I have immortal plus warlord. I have two Oathbounds. I only have one Elder, so I'm thinking I kind of want to save that. Then he chooses me to go first, and I was like, okay, there's potential for him to still have Assassin as well. So I didn't have any way to really address Assassin, and my hand didn't feel good to throw out an Oathbound because then I could get really punished by an Inquisitor on the other Oathbound.
Okay.
I didn't
That was the
also
question
want.
we had. Yeah, we were like, oh, he's probably gonna play an Oathbound first, but then when you didn't, and then we saw how important that Oathbound was later on.
Yeah, it was so important that I lost. Uh, no.
I mean, you
So
lost with 1 point.
I didn't want the second Oathbound to get Inquisited, and I was really hesitant about leaving it up to an Elder or leaving it up to an Oathbound. So I put the Elder away, let him Inquisit because I figured I think we were in the spot where you probably had two. So
He
it's like,
did. He did have 2, but he called you immortal.
yeah, so that was weird. I was like, okay, well, I lost. That's fine, whatever. And then he didn't flip. I was like, okay, maybe I won. So yeah, it was very, very interesting for several turns. But the idea was I wanted to stash my Elder. I didn't want my second Oathbound to get Inquisited, so I just gave it to him
Fair enough.
because I knew I was gonna have to flip eventually, and I didn't want to get stuck in a spot. I wanted to flip early, so I still had my King's Hand in case he did have Assassin.
Right. We did. Yeah,
So-
we did call like that. We were like, at least like he knows for a fact that he can King's Hand it. Goose, how far down the line were you thinking when you did the Inquisitor or the Immortal stuff?
Um,
Like you Inquisited Immortal, you then played Judge, and then you were like, I'm gonna do the Inquisitor, not the Soldier.
yeah, well, actually, I would say, if you want to call it like a misplay, I would say the misplay would probably be the playing the Judge instead of the Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I play Soldier, hit it, and then get rid of the Immortal, he has to King's Hand that. But
Yeah.
if he King's Hands it, then I can just, then I would just be able to King Flip on it.
Yeah.
Or I happen to have a second Soldier in hand. So
I'm not sure if you guys can
could've
hear
just-
the Imposter Kings fans over there.
Or no, I
They-
didn't have a second Soldier in hand.
They really wanted Nolan to pull it out there, so we had a
Wow,
couple.
it was close.
There's a kid crying in the background. That's what that was. So yeah, I mean that makes sense. So you play the Soldier, he King's Hands it, you still have another backup for that, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that.
Still worked out. You were able to maneuver that queen in order to force him to do a 6-1, and you were able to. Actually, that's one that I'm going to go back to where instead if you played the Warlord, I wonder what would have happened. But it was really interesting because, the coup was in full force. I don't think I've ever seen so much pressure come from the Immortal in that game. And it was one that you kind of self-inflicted in order to try to get rid of, which is interesting. But overall, in the games, all of the games, it kind of seemed down like they came down to like 4 cards. By the way, super disappointed in you, Goose, for not getting that Nocturne call. But it was awesome. You got to get that 2-point win. Did that feel good there, Yeti, when you nailed it?
Yes, for several reasons. One, from what I've obviously I don't have a ton of experience with the cards after they got art and stuff like that. Nocturne is pretty much by far my favorite art in this set. So I want to use the card, and I have this innate ability against Goose to make every wrong call. So he even said earlier in the match, like, the problem with Nocturne is like you can just fake it and make an awful call and I'll believe it.
He
So-
always misses his calls on me.
I want to say I lost, I think, 2 or 3 rounds this game because I was playing around the burn card.
I see.
And maybe that might be a weakness on my part of playing around the burn card too often.
Yeah, I mean, the commentary on the Nocturne was really interesting because you were hinting a lot that you threw away that Inquisitor quite a bit, but that's exactly what you do with the Nocturne is that you keep the card that you pretend that you threw away. And so
Right. I mean, the fact that you let off Right. You faced up one Inquisitor with the charismatic leader, and then you play not an Inquisitor as the opening. Really seemed to be setting up that exact moment where the game up to that point was really a feint, and then using that as the call for the Nocturne really felt like it had been set up the whole match. It was just a terrific moment of ambiguity on setting that moment up, and it was game winning ultimately.
Yeah. So the last thing I was just going to say is that there's a lot of those situations where there's 4 cards each. I felt like that was where most of the pressure of the games were in this set that you guys were having. You know, both of you would have 4 cards. You kind of know what your line has led you up to. Is that kind of where you guys kind of like had to do the most calculus, or was it more at the beginning of the matches, or both?
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, I'll say for me, once I was in the hand, it felt like it kind of played itself a little bit more. Whereas starting to, because I was trying to get an idea of like, okay, where will this hand go at the beginning of every round? And that becomes phenomenally more complex when you start adding in these new cards. Not only because they're new, I don't have as much experience with them, but also because a lot of Imposter Kings cards kind of do a thing. And like an exception to that is kind of Oathbound, right? You can play on it and then you get another card effect. But in your head, you can kind of be like, okay, well, it's just Oathbound plus Inquisitor. It's just Oathbound plus Fool.
Yeah.
Whereas some of these cards do like 3 or 4 things, it feels like. Like the Immortal's a good example. I lost a round because I played the Immortal.
Yeah, love that. That was a lot of fun for us.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was like...
The Immortal is like moving a sofa, is an analogy we hit on, where you think you're turning the corner and then it kind of like catches on something. It has like something that's sticking out that catches on something and it can screw you, which is what happened in that match, or in that particular hand. And yeah, that's right. That those different angles really explode the complexity of some of these plays. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like the nuance of the Aegis that, okay, well, when they flip, it's not that it doesn't have an effect anymore. It's not that it's dead 3 like an opposite Zealot. It's now it can be muted.
Right. Which we
So
didn't
like
see
it's
in
still a
this match,
huge
but yeah.
threat.
Which
or
you
not a
you
threat
got
necessarily,
you I
but-
think you called it out one of the games almost immediately, which is like, we could get this card out of here.
Yeah, I was like, this is too good of a hand for this card for him to not have this card.
Yeah.
But then another one even is like the Exile. I played it and I was like, oh wait, I didn't read this card right. It counts itself. And then in my head I was like, perfect, now he can't Oathbound on it. And then I kept reading the card again. I'm like, wait, he couldn't play an Oathbound on it anyways because it mutes everything.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of facets to the cards. I'm gonna sound defensive here.
The cards do things.
The
Yeti,
cards
yes.
do things. They're scary. To be fair, the thing that's crazy here is that Goose and I have played quite a lot of games. Nolan, you haven't played very many of the expansion games, and so this is kind of like your big foray into the matches. So you put up a hell of a show for someone who's just like, picking up the cards now. Yeah, Goose, I'll let you have the final word here, since we want to make sure we can hear your side of that too.
There's significantly more choice to be made at the very, once you have your hand and you're going through like your mustering, what king, that's where I feel like so much decision is being made. And we've worked hard on like trying to make it so it's a easier transition into that. So whether it's like not using the new kings or only using like the base card army. And then on top of that, I think for this expansion, to me, the standout card is actually the Immortal. It changes the entire playing field in a way that like how you used to play now is different in like primary, secondary, and like tertiary forms. So like primary is like Warlord now beats royalty. In like a secondary form, it's that your royalty no longer have their abilities, and the 8s can be played on them. And in a tertiary form, they can be so now your old royalty can be sentryed, and it's like Yeti was telling me after we finished the game, He's like, yeah, I was hoping you didn't have Soldier there, or else I was gonna lose. I don't think I've ever said that before. So, the Immortal just changes the entire court every time it's played. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse.
Yes.
So what's
I
the
would
worst
argue-
card in the set now, Goose?
Like as a whole,
Yeah, just what card is the worst?
mm,
I already
I don't
know
wanna
your
say
answer,
it's-
Yeti. It's the Elder,
it's
right?
it's not the worst, but Elder is still the most niche option.
Fair enough.
You're saying the
It's-
ancestor that's winning,
It's
right?
not bad. It does what it does, and you have the ancestor that can make it better. But I think usually if I'm going to exhaust a card, like Elder's pretty high on that list.
Gotcha. Well,
Hmm.
oh, go ahead. Yeti, did you want
I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because now Elder can be more mischievous. You can have an Elder when you're not supposed to have an Elder, which I think is kind of brings a different dynamic to the card. There's a little bit more surprise to it. And I mean, I guess every single hand you could just play around. Oh, they could have a third Elder or something weird. But the fact that we can go into an Exodia hand and I'm not cooked is
Right.
pretty cool.
Mhm.
So I mean, maybe it's the worst. It's a lot better than it used to be. Because it used to be I played Elder the way it was supposed to be played and I lost because of it. Whereas now it can actually surprise people. I would have a hard time picking a worst card.
Well, thank you both for playing with us and for showcasing everything, including the Master Tactician. Love those. And also just seeing the variety in the different play styles. I think there's quite a lot to kind of, muster over here, like to look at
Yeah.
after this. But
Yeah, these are fantastic games, incredibly entertaining to watch and cast, and they showcased everything that I think this expansion has to offer and all the different angles, and just beautifully played on both sides. Just an absolute delight. So,
Yeah.
so congrats and thanks again.
thank you both.
Thank you much. It was a wonderful
All right.
time.
And thank you, the audience.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our showcases. We might have a nice little final showcase between Goose and Notorious BLT, but stay tuned for that information. All right. Take care, everyone. Stay royal.
Stay royal.
Is that a thing we do? All right.